Tunde woke before the sun. Not because he wanted to, but because Lagos didn't believe in gentle mornings. From outside his one-room apartment in Mushin, the city's voice was already rising, metallic clinks from a vulcanizer's tools, the rhythmic thud of a pestle pounding yam in a neighbor's kitchen, and the far-off shouts of bus conductors advertising routes like their lives depended on it. Oshodi. CMS. Island Street. Enter with your change. Oh. The room was small, bed, plastic table, a single chair, but Tunde had long learned to live without space. What mattered was what happened outside the door. He sat on the edge of the bed, rubbed his face, and checked his phone. 5:12 a.m. The job interview was on the island. 9 a.m. sharp. The kind of opportunity that could mean escaping the constant scramble. He'd ironed his shirt last night, laid his trousers neatly across the chair, polished his shoes until he could see the window's faint reflection. He knew one thing: Lagos punished latecomers. The street wakes up. By 5:45, Tunde was outside. The morning air was thick with the smell of frying akara and puff-puff. A woman in a faded wrapper stirred a pot of boiling pap, steam rising like an offering to the gods of breakfast. Men were pushing wheelbarrows loaded with pure water sachets, ice clinking faintly inside. A small group of schoolchildren in oversized uniforms walked past, their shoes covered in yesterday's dust. A man on a motorcycle zoomed by, carrying a sack of bread balanced on his shoulder. Tunde flagged a passing Okada. Oshodi under bridge. The rider nodded, twisted the throttle, and the bike shot forward like it had somewhere urgent to be. The road was wet, even though it hadn't rained in days. Somewhere ahead, a bus water pipe had turned part of the street into a shallow stream. The Okada splashed through, spraying dirty water onto the trousers of an unlucky pedestrian. The man cursed loudly. The Okada rider laughed. "No Lagos we dey," he shouted over the engine noise. Oshodi chaos. At Oshodi, Tunde hopped down and paid. The air here was different, dense, hot, layered with exhaust fumes, fried meat, and the faint stink of open drains. Danfo buses lined up in crooked rows, conductors hanging halfway out of the doors, yelling at potential passengers. CMS Street. Island. Enter. I no get change. Oh. Lekki. 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 Air Street. No enter if you no get change. Hawkers darted between buses, balancing trays of boiled groundnuts, chin-chin, and phone accessories. Some carried baskets on their heads, others slung goods across their shoulders. A teenage boy shoved a pair of sunglasses toward Tunde's face. Original Gucci, brothers. Just 1.5. Tunde waved him away and spotted a danfo loading for CMS. He squeezed inside, taking the seat beside a woman in a nurse's uniform who was already dozing, her head resting lightly against the window. Inside the danfo, the bus smelled like sweat and old upholstery. A man at the back was preaching in a booming voice, Bible in hand, warning the passengers about hellfire. A baby cried somewhere near the front. The driver kept one hand on the steering wheel, the other constantly pressing the horn. "Conductor, I get 500, Tunde said. "I no get change." The conductor sighed. "No wahala. But you go wait for your change. Oh." Traffic started even before they reached the Third Mainland Bridge. The bus slowed to a crawl. From outside, hawkers appeared like ghosts, selling gala, plantain chips, sausage rolls, cold drinks, even small rechargeable fans. By gala, brothers make your bell no empty for interview, one woman said with a grin, holding up a pack through the window. Tunde shook his head but smiled back. The bridge and the view. The bus crept along the bridge. To the left, the lagoon stretched wide, dotted with wooden fishing boats. To the right, the mainland skyline rose in uneven patches, concrete houses, rusted roofs, occasional high-rise buildings in the distance. The smell of the lagoon drifted in, salty, muddy, alive. A small breeze passed through the bus, carrying relief from the thick heat. But the relief didn't last. The island delay. By 8:15, they were barely halfway across. Ahead, red brick lights stretched into the horizon. A man in a crisp suit stepped out of a black SUV, phone pressed to his ear. Just a few feet away, a barefoot boy in torn shorts moved from car to car, palms out, repeating the same quiet request. "Brothers, I beg. Make I chop." Lagos had a way of reminding you that success and struggle live side by side. When they finally reached CMS, it was 8:57. Ton's shirt was damp from sweat. He ran the last few streets to the building, dodging Okadas, sidestepping puddles, and muttering sorry as he brushed past people. The interview. The receptionist gave him a polite but distant smile. "You're late. The manager doesn't like latecomers." Ton tried to explain about the traffic, but she was already shaking her head. "Everyone has traffic stories. Please, take a seat." He waited for almost 30 minutes before a young man in a sharp blue suit came to the lobby. "We filled the position," he said flatly. "Thank you for your interest." Noon hit. By noon, Ton was back on the street. The island sun was harsh, the kind that cooked you from above and below. The concrete radiated heat that seeped through his shoes. On Broad Street, bankers in neatly pressed suits hurried past with eyes locked on their phones. Street vendors called out prices for wristwatches and belts. An old man pushed a cart loaded with soft drinks in glass bottles, the ice water at the bottom melting fast. Near Tinubu Square, a preacher with a megaphone shouted about repentance while a group of teenagers argued over a game of draft on the sidewalk. A busker played high-life music on a battered guitar, his voice raspy but warm. Ton drifted into Balogun Market, swallowed by its narrow paths and overflowing stalls. The air was hot and thick with the smell of dried fish, perfume, leather, and unwashed bodies. Traders shouted from every side. "Oga, come by. Fine shirt, cheap price. Sister, I get 'em for your size. Madam, no last price be this." Women in bright Ankara skirts moved quickly, baskets on their heads swaying but never falling. Somewhere, a radio played a Fuji song over the market noise. Ton bought roasted plantain and groundnuts from a woman with a wide smile. He sat on a wooden bench, watching the endless stream of movement. The sky darkened without warning. The wind shifted, cooler now, and market women began covering their goods with plastic sheets. Within minutes, heavy rain pounded the corrugated roofs, creating a deafening drumbeat. The ground turned into small rivers, carrying away wrappers, leaves, and discarded sachet water bags. People squeezed under shop canopies, strangers pressing shoulder to shoulder. A man cursed as his shoe disappeared into a muddy puddle. A little girl laughed as she splashed barefoot through the water. By the time the rain stopped, steam was already rising from the wet ground. Lagos heat always returned quickly, like it had been waiting in the shadows. As the day faded, the streets stayed alive. Bus horns, shouting traders, loud music from roadside speakers, it all mixed into the same restless heartbeat. Ton walked back towards CMS to find a danfo heading to Mushin. The streetlights flickered on, casting dim orange circles on the wet road. Okadas weaved between cars like fish in a crowded river. He climbed into a bus beside a man selling wristwatches from a backpack. Across from him, two women were deep in conversation about fuel prices. A boy in school uniform balanced a tray of chin-chin on his lap. By the time Ton reached Mushin, it was past 9 p.m. The street near his apartment was dimly lit, but still buzzing, small kiosks selling noodles, men gathered around the table playing cards, someone frying puff-puff for late-night customers. He bought a sachet of cold water, leaned against a wall, and watched the street. Lagos was unpredictable. It gave and took without warning. Today had been a loss, but tomorrow might be different. That was the gamble everyone played here. He went inside, ate his plantain and groundnuts in silence, and set his alarm for 4:45 a.m. In Lagos, you didn't stop. You couldn't stop. The city wouldn't let you.